Hello and welcome to Ode to Games. I'm Kevin Van Leen, joined alongside Logan Plant. How you doing, Logan? It's been a couple
Is
weeks.
it's good to be back, Kev. We were gone for a while, and hey, we used to say in college that when we took a week off from our radio show, the next shows were always one of the best. So I have lofty expectations for today.
Oh, oof. Hopefully we can reach those expectations. Zach Ross is also here. How you doing, Zach?
I didn't do any extra preparation to make this a better show than normal, so hopefully I'll just think of some stuff on the fly to make it extra special.
That's how we do it here. It's entirely random what stuff sticks. So
Exactly.
we'll see if something sticks. This we've got a new game to talk about. Nintendo Switch Sports is out. Also, we've got the indie world on the side here. So if
You might
Sports
see us
Story
occasionally looking
gets
over to the
announced,
side. Yeah.
we'll we'll be here to talk about it. If anything else, we probably won't really mention it, but we'll
It's
we'll
fun.
be
Usually
here.
we're timeless, and like you never know when we're actually recording. But
But
yeah, it is the indie world literally starts in less than a minute, and we're just following it on our second screens here.
yep.
So it'll be fun if we get a live reaction if Sports Story happens. But I'm gonna guess right now that we're gonna get live disappointment when like the seventh consecutive Indie World
Yeah.
goes by with no mention of
We're,
Sports
we're
Story.
really tired of talking about Indie World, so we didn't even wait this time to
Mhm.
record until after it was done.
Yep.
I mean, you can't expect Sports Story at this point. That's what we're all waiting for here,
Yeah.
and it's
Once you
been
give
so
up hope,
long that it's
that's when it's going to show
well,
up.
yeah.
So
There
I
we
mean, I've
go.
got a lot of hope
Yeah,
now, so now it's not going to show up. So it's
maybe
an endless
they'll
cycle.
drop another delay announcement. I don't know.
Hey, maybe.
But yeah, so if they talk about that, we'll be here to talk about it. But first, let's talk about Nintendo Switch Sports. Both of you guys have played it. It's been out for a
Finally.
little while now. I'll
Yep.
throw it to Zach first since he's the resident Wii Sports fanatic.
I am. I
What
would
do you
call
think?
myself that. Well, I've been
What do you
dying to
think of the
talk
new
about
one?
this ever since the playtest, but I've been constrained and restricted, and
Nintendo
everyone
does not let
That's
everyone
you.
the
would get mad at me
weirdest
when I tried to
thing.
talk about it. Yeah. But now that restriction has been lifted, the game is finally out. I've had a chance to play a good amount of it, and I like it a lot. I think it's a lot of fun. It does harken back to the nostalgia and the feelings that I got from playing Wii Sports many years ago, and not so many years ago. I play it on the reg occasionally whenever I just bust out my Wii. Um, so uh, going in and playing Switch Sports pretty much gave me everything I was looking for. Um, Minus some of the sports that I wish were there from Wii Sports that didn't make it across, like boxing, baseball, some of the Wii Sports Resort stuff. But now that we're in the modern age of gaming, that stuff very likely could be added in the future because we know golf is coming. But the sports that are included are a lot of fun. I like them a lot. There are some I clearly like a lot more than others, given the ones that I play mostly are tennis and bowling. Those are my top two, followed by Chambara, I like a lot. Soccer and volleyball, I am less into, and badminton is also a bit middle ground. So there's a clear ranking of the sports in my mind, but that's not the ranking that everyone's gonna have. All the sports are decently fun, so anyone could get attached to whatever sport they find the most fun. Looking over to the indie world, nope, not Sports Story. Um,
It's not. You can
so I
continue.
just yes, I stick to what I've been playing. The structure of it's a little weird in what you can do. You can play locally, split screen with friends. You could play co-op online with friends, or you can play just online against randos, and or you could play single player against CPUs. And each like offers like a weird variation of what you can do in these sports. Like you don't really have a lot of options in like the different bowling options when you're playing online. You only get like the sudden death competition mode. So some stuff is locked out of different play styles, which I find a little weird. Um, but still a lot of fun. I mostly do online. Logan's been gone, but when he has been able to play, we've played it together. And the just, playing with your friends online, also a lot of fun. And I've also been able to do local co-op, so I've had a chance to do pretty much all of it, and it all runs pretty smoothly. Um, when I was playing with Logan and we were talking on the phone, I did notice some delay. I'm not sure how the net code works. It feels smooth on my end, but I did notice a delay in when he was reacting to things and when I was seeing them. So I'm really not sure how they pulled it off to make it feel as smooth as it does, because there is a noticeable delay. So
It
As
was
long as it,
badminton where you were noticing that, where like
yeah,
I was hitting it like well after you hit it to me, but it looked smooth on both of our games, and
exactly.
that's
And
really
on
weird.
bowling, I was like, strike. And then you were like, okay, let's see if you get a strike. And I was like, I just got a strike. And you're like, oh, I'm still watching you
I can
bowl.
see the future.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So at least it feels smooth. I guess that's what's most important. Um, but yeah, definitely a lot of fun. It's got like these modern style reward based system with limited time rewards like Fall Guys does, or like a battle pass type system where when you're playing online, which is the only way to unlock cosmetics, you can't unlock cosmetics unless you play online against random people. Every time you play a match, you earn points, then you like gain a reward after you earn 100 points. So each game is like worth a different amount of points, whether you win, lose, which game you play, that type of stuff. And once you hit 100 points, you get a random prize on like a pass, and the passes are like 10 days a piece. So I'm not sure how long this is going to be supported, if they're going to reuse passes, because I have not unlocked everything on the first pass, and I think it just ended. So I don't know if some of those items are not ever coming back, but still a good way to keep me interested, because if I see something on a battle pass that I want to like customize my character or use a different piece of equipment, looking over at the indie world, nope, we're good. Then I'm more motivated to hop in and play some rounds. And then once I start playing, I kind of just play for at least an hour before it gives me that warning of like, you've been playing for an hour. You should.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Do you want to take a break? Yeah. I'm like,
Is that
all
the
right.
message like go touch grass or something, or is that somebody?
No.
That
I
was,
think that was a
was
meme.
Photoshop.
That was
Photoshop. Yeah.
that would have been.
What does it actually say?
Insane. It says you've been playing for an hour. Do you want to take a break? And
yeah, like you used to on the Wii.
Yeah, and it does that on Ring Fit too.
Yeah,
I guess if it's more physical activity and movement with the motion controls,
it's not very strenuous, I've found. I mean, my shoulder does get a little tired because I play so much tennis, but other than that, yeah, it's pretty breezy. You can play it sitting down. I have not used the leg strap once. You can just use the motion controls on for soccer. I don't even know how to use the leg strap.
I am a little baffled by the integration of the leg strap. Is one of my weirdest things with this game, because there's going to be a post-launch update that adds leg strap support for the normal soccer, which is when you're actually on the field running around kicking, passing, and trying to score the ball. But right now it's only available in penalty kicks. That's it.
Oh,
so
okay.
the
I have not
physical
done
edition
that.
comes bundled with this whole leg strap just for the penalty kick mode, which is like the most shallow mode in the entire game. Not just soccer, the entire thing. I was playing a local split screen in the soccer penalty kicks, and it's like fine, but it's nothing special. So I'm curious to see how much it works in soccer, because right now it's like, yeah, I know they want to make it like feel like you're actually kicking a ball or whatever, but it's not worth it. It's not worth the physical edition having come bundled with this just for this really shallow penalty kick mode. But yeah, I'm enjoying the game. I think that the single player offering is somehow feels even thinner than it did on the Wii. I guess because the game itself felt a bit more novel on the Wii. But I remember there were leaderboards, and then you had that like graph of like your character's strengths and weaknesses.
Yep.
And there's none of that here. There's no leaderboard. There's no nothing. It keeps track of your personal best, but that's kind of it. And then, yeah, like you said, Zach, something I found weird is the limitation of different modes, whether you're local, online with friends, or online in general. Because bowling, for example, you can do the bowling online is just the survival. It is only the survival bowling, which is basically a battle royale. You start with 20 people, and then every couple of frames, people are eliminated based on their score. But then locally and online with friends, you can play this obstacle bowling, where you have to like bowl around like different barriers in the lane, or there's these like moving posts that you have to like time when you do your throw, or there's like a ramp, so you have to bowl a little harder so the ball can make it up the ramp. That's a super cool mode, and then it's just not online. But then something annoying about playing online with friends is that you and I can't just play a game, two people, like you can locally. You have to have 8 computers, and then just like Mario Golf, once we're done, we have to sit there and watch the computers finish their frames. And it's like, why is that a thing? Like, just let me skip past that. So there's just some really weird differences when I can play just locally with 4 people and not have any computers. But then when I want to play with Zach, it's like, all right, but you got to watch Joe bowl his computer frames that are pretty inconsequential. So I think that's a little strange. And then, yeah, the battle pass approach is very much what we've been seeing from Nintendo's online lately, really incentivizing that online play, like Mario Tennis Aces, where you needed to play a certain amount to unlock the new character skins. It's just like that. But so you have this punch card, but then there's like 15 items on it. And then every time you level up, you get to pick which punch card you want to stamp, but then you unlock a random item from it. So there's these really cool glasses that Zach got that I didn't have time to get since I was gone.
Dang.
I stamped that thing 9 times. There are only like 5 items left, and I couldn't get the one thing I wanted, and then it expired last night. So I missed out on that, which is a little rough. But yeah, I think that the gameplay is fun. I think that the motion controls work pretty well. I think that bowling is still the highlight for me, like it was in Wii Sports. I think that badminton is actually pretty cool. It feels very precise, and there's a lot of back and forth action in that. I'm excited for golf. When you play online, it says available sports, and then it shows the 6 that are currently in it. And then there's only 1 empty slot for golf, presumably. So it seems like they're only adding 1 sport. But I miss baseball. I miss some of the stuff in Wii Sports Resort. I think that the sports are mostly good, but between volleyball, tennis, and badminton, it's like, okay, we have 3 sports that are about hitting a object over a net to the other person, and they all feel really similar when it's like you could have had more variety if you had like baseball instead of volleyball or something like that, or boxing instead of badminton. I think there could have been more variety in the gameplay, where right now it kind of feels like Chambara and bowling are great. The net sports are range from okay to good, and then soccer sucks. Soccer's really bad. I think it's terrible. It's like, it feels almost like watered down fall ball. Like it feels worse than fall ball feels in
That's
Fall
not
Guys.
good, because fall ball is pretty awful.
Yeah. So soccer is definitely the low point for me, which is a disappointment as one of the only new sports that this thing has to offer. And then I think volleyball, another new one, is the second worst. So I think the new sports that they have in there are kind of the worst offerings. And the ones that I look to go back to are Chambara, which was my favorite in Wii Sports Resort, and then bowling, which was my favorite in Wii Sports. So it very much is just Wii Sports pretty much, but I mean, it's at a lower price point. So if you're nostalgic for that, I think it's a fun party game. I have fun playing online with Zach. I had fun in local split screen. It's just like the original Wii Sports. If you want to play alone, there's not much to do, which I didn't feel in Resort. I felt like there was a lot for me to do alone in Wii Sports Resort. And then this just feels like a downgrade. So maybe I want there to be like a Resort DLC or something like that. But I don't know if that's going to be in the cards.
No, and it also feels like you should be comparing it to Wii Sports Resort as compared to the original, because the original was just a little pack-in title. Whereas obviously it's not a fully priced game, but you have to go out of your way to pay for this. And Wii Sports Resort was in a similar boat. And I think that part of the deal for that was you could get the Wii Motion Plus. So I don't even think at the time it was necessarily a full price game, because you got the controller with it.
And then unlike the leg strap, the Wii Motion Plus was useful for other games like Skyward Sword or other things. And then the leg strap, the only thing it's useful for is Ring Fit Adventure, but it comes bundled with that. And the only way to get Ring Fit is physically. So it's like, what? The leg strap isn't really going to have wide-ranging use as a reason to pick this thing up, like the Wii Motion Plus did for Wii Sports Resort.
Do you think Mario Strikers maybe leg strap? Anybody?
I do not know how that would work.
Yeah.
that'd be insane.
But yeah, it is, because you look at Wii Sports Resort and they really took Wii Sports and really fleshed it out. You know, they added, not only did they add more sports for you to do, but they added a world for it to exist in. And that was kind of a fair amount of the fun, was, you know, flying around in the island exploration mode, or even just, you know, exploring the world in different ways, you know, exploring it when you're doing the sword fighting and you have to like sword fight across the bridge, or even just running, where you're running across this map and it feels like you are on this resort and you're there, and they built this world. And it's kind of interesting that you have a non-pack-in title that really goes back to bare bones basics, and in some cases seems seemingly even more bare bones than the pack-in was.
Yeah, that's something I was always impressed with.
Not being there.
about Resort. Zach and I played Wii Sports Resort recently. I think after the announcement of Switch Sports, we dove back into Wii Sports Resort, and that, Kev, was the thing I was most consistently enjoying in that game. Was just the different ways you interact with the same places on that island. So like you fly through the volcano when you're playing, and then there's an archery level where you're down inside the volcano. And you have to fire at a target way away, and like the heat draft lifts it way up, so you have to account for that. And I just really like that, the different, like, oh, I know this place because this island is in this different game. And then you do it in archery, or you do it in the flying, or you're jet skiing around and you see, oh, I see that landmark that I recognize from this other thing. And it does feel like this place that you're actually spending time, where the Switch Sports, what's it called? Like Spocko Campus or something like that.
Yeah.
Spocko Square.
Spock?
It there's some variety in like the tennis courts, but then the sword fighting, like you were in this awesome arena in Wii Sports Resort with an audience
over the
and that,
water on the coast
Yep.
there.
and it lives on through Smash also, that Woohoo Island stage. But now the Spocko Square feels like a glorified university rec center, and it's
Yeah.
like a weird, like the bowling alley, like it just, there's like these people just walking around, like 3 people will be watching the sword fighting match, like sitting down, like sitting on some benches and stuff. And it's like, I get the vibe they were going to. It does feel like that kind of college vibe, but it's like, it's not nearly as iconic as Woohoo Island is either. So if that's something you liked about Wii Sports Resort, there's none of that here. It is pretty bland in terms of the actual settings you're playing these sports in.
Yeah. And I do have a complaint. I don't know if we want to keep talking about this. We've been talking about it for a while, but I do have a quick complaint. It's more of a concern than a complaint, because it hasn't been an issue yet. But when you're playing online on Switch Sports and you're good enough at a sport, it will put you into a ranked mode. It will, I don't even think it gives you the option. It forces you into ranked, and you get a rank, and you start at E rank, and the difficulty spike is pretty big, because you're basically playing against people who aren't good enough to get into ranked originally. And then once you're good enough, it puts you into ranked, and then the difficulty spike goes up. So now you're playing against much more difficult opponents. And this happened to me on tennis. So I was playing against difficult opponents. And every time I would win, my rank would go up a little, and then I would go to E plus, and then D minus, and so on and so forth. And when you lose, your rank doesn't go down. So I'm worried that I will get to a point where I'm losing every match because I'm a C rank fighter,
And you can't.
and I've gotten to C
drop
rank,
back.
but I can't drop back down. So I'm losing to everybody. So it will be unbearable to play tennis because I'm losing every match.
How many
That's
matches were you
funny.
losing without it dropping you? Was this like a match or two that you dropped, or were you
before
like
ranked,
losing 5
yeah.
in a row and it wouldn't drop
So
you back down?
before ranked, I won every match. Then it put me in ranked. Then I would lose like every, maybe, 5, or I would win maybe 5 out of 7. And it's been going like that, and the bar doesn't go up very fast. So I'm still in like the low D minus. But the matches are hard. I'm getting to like deuce every time. So I'm worried I'm reaching a cap with skill that will eventually lock me out of having fun ever again in Switch Sports Tennis. So
that's weird that you don't drop down.
I know. I was thinking about that, because ranked mode in fighting games is very consistent, where if you keep doing poorly, it will lower your rank, so you play more people who are lower rank, and then you can practice against them, build back up to the original rank. So I don't know if I lose like 10 in a row, it's going to drop me a rank.
Yeah,
but
how much do you have to lose for it to drop
Yeah.
you back, if it does at all?
it
And
seems
every
like a
Nintendo
weird
game does
system.
that. I mean, Mario Kart has that system, Splatoon has that
Mhm.
system, Smash has that system. It's like, why doesn't this? That is
So
super
yeah,
bizarre.
that was a weird little thought that I had, is that eventually, if you're good enough at every sport, it'll be impossible to win eventually.
The one thing this is the last thing I'll say too before we get to news, is that I'm a tennis player in real life. I played in high school, and I play in some rec leagues now after college. they don't score tennis properly. Like
They don't.
It,
Not anymore. They don't.
It bugs the heck out of me. Like even in online, it's like 7-point tiebreakers, right? So
Yeah.
first to 7 points wins.
Yep.
There's a very dictated order about who is supposed to be serving on what side at what number of points. And Switch Sports, I can't even figure out the pattern they're going for because it's
I
not
also
accurate.
couldn't.
It is not right how you serve. Like if there's an even number of points, you're supposed to serve from the right side, then an odd number of points you serve from the left side. But this is just all over the place. And I'm like, how do you not get the rules of the game right in one of your 6 sports that you had to make? Like that was just insane to me that they didn't have the proper scoring system.
I know Wii Sports had the proper scoring system. Did it have the proper serving etiquette?
It did, yeah. Wii Sports was right.
From what I happened. Just the best.
Yeah. So that's bizarre. But Switch Sports is fine. It's pretty much what I thought it would be.
I still play it a good
sports
amount.
Are worse than I thought they'd be.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
All right. It's fine. That's all we can ask, right? We can't be asking for Wii Sports Resort. That's way too much.
No.
Just got to go play that again. All right. Do we want to get into some news? Nothing has happened on the indie world front yet.
Okay, I will say real quick, one game that they showed that I really like the look of is Electhead. It's this electric puzzle platformer where you are like a conductor and all the ground is metal and you step on different platforms and it manipulates which ones you can and can't walk on because they're electric and different obstacles get in your way. So you have to like light certain torches or not light certain things. It's been on PC for like a year. I've been super interested in it and now it's coming to Switch. So that has been my highlight of watching this with 5% effort. That game looks really cool. And it should be a cool puzzle platformer on Switch. But no sports story yet, and we've got like
we're
minute
running down
left
on time.
I
think there's only a minute or two left, so
it's obviously a one last thing kind of game. Yeah.
And then the whole world is probably freaking out about Silk Song right now, hoping that that's going to be the one more thing. Unless this thing that I don't know what it is the one more thing.
I feel like the Lambs game. I feel like we've already seen that.
Okay.
Want to get into some news here?
Yeah. So Embracer Group has agreed to acquire Crystal Dynamics, Eidos, Square Enix Montreal studios. That is all of Square Enix's non-Japanese studios. These are developers of like Deus Ex, Tomb Raider. Eidos just made the Guardians of the Galaxy game that weirdly didn't perform well commercially, even though it got great reviews critically and was a Marvel game. I don't really know what happened there. But we always kind of knew that Square Enix did not seem to think that their non-Japanese studios were generating enough income. And so now they have sold them off for $300 million, which compared to the mega deals we've been seeing for Tomb Raider, which just has massive potential as an IP, I think everyone's kind of scratching their heads a little bit about the price of this acquisition. But Embracer Group is kind of an up-and-coming publisher here. They also own a lot of different like card games and board games, so they're not just within video games, but yeah, Square Enix no longer has Tomb Raider or any of these other things. And I guess for me, it never really made sense that they had some of these studios. So this acquisition doesn't change a whole lot, I think, in my point of view.
Yeah, I mean, you don't automatically see Tomb Raider or Deus Ex and think, Square Enix. That's not the thought. You think about the studio behind it rather than Square Enix. And in a world where you think that they're going to reinvest that into some of their studios that they still have, it's like, oh, that's great. When they start talking about all this metaverse stuff and whatnot, I'm like, okay. All right. Yeah. I don't think this is any better of an investment than what you just sold off, but you do you, I guess.
Yeah.
That's the weird side of it. But I guess as long as their strategy with some of their Japanese published games doesn't change, that's all people really care about Square Enix for. And then also to see them sell to not like Microsoft and just add even more studios to them to sell to this other group that is still going to keep things third party on all platforms. I thought it was fine. Yeah, and I'm maybe we see even more from these studios now, like Deus Ex. It's been a long time, and then Tomb Raider. We recently learned that Crystal Dynamics is working on another one, and so now that'll be under a new publisher. So yeah, maybe this could be a good thing for some of these franchises that Square Enix maybe didn't think were profitable, even though they were. And now they're
not super profitable. That's the key. They make a lot of money.
Well, the reason,
or you're
Guardians
just the
of
Avengers
Galaxy,
and just crash and burn.
That's the reason why the Guardians of the Galaxy didn't sell well, was because people had Avengers PTSD.
I mean, it was probably that and the fact that they showed it off like 30 times for like 4 hours at all of these showcases, and it's just like
it got death stopped. Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true. But now it's on Game Pass, and that's still a game that I want to play.
I'm planning on playing it.
Yeah, at some point. Just too much going on. It looks like we're nearing the end of this thing. I can't tell if it's over or if we're nearing the end.
They're doing a sizzle reel right now.
They're doing the reel. So, okay, is the reel going to lead into one more thing, or is the reel going to lead into goodbye? All right. This next story, while we are very anxious for sports story, this one is kind of strange. Gotham Knights, which is the upcoming Batman spin-off game coming from Warner Brothers, makers of Arkham Origins. They canceled the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One version, so it is now a next-gen exclusive game, and they said not really anything specific besides that it will provide players the best possible gameplay experience. A pretty generic answer there. It's coming out on October 25 for just PS5, Series XS, and PC now. And let me say, guys, they also revealed some gameplay. It didn't look that great. It looked pretty rough, so I don't know. This is a game Zach and I were looking forward to playing, but now with a really late cancellation for the last gen versions, and then a rough gameplay footage of Nightwing and Red Hood combat, this thing looks like it's in a little bit of trouble. But still, with consoles as hard to find as they are, I find it bizarre that they canceled these last gen versions.
Yeah, well, these current gen games are getting harder and harder to run on older consoles. I mean, they probably weren't doing super well in optimizing it for previous consoles, and if it came out and if it ran like absolute garbage on PS4 and Xbox, people would just be complaining nonstop.
Yeah, the Cyberpunk thing again. Maybe that's what they had, where it's like, all right, we don't think this is going to work on last gen consoles. Like, let's just scrap it.
Yeah, so I guess it is a better decision than releasing a broken version. It's just, I guess, like, it just does make me think of Cyberpunk, that it just doesn't bode well for what this final product's going to be if they weren't getting it to work on these versions. But hey, if it means that they can spend the next 5 months really optimizing it for these next gen versions and making a good experience, that's a good thing. I learned that this game's only 2-player co-op. I thought it was 4 because there's 4 playable characters, but it is only 2-player co-op, which is.
I also just learned that.
Yeah. So. But this is the first case we've seen of a canceled last gen version, I think. I can't think of another time that's happened.
Yeah.
As with this generation, I don't.
Yeah. I mean with this gen. With PS5
think so.
and Series X. Yeah,
I'm sure we'll probably see some more in the future.
Yeah, definitely not the last.
Yep. So that is Batman. I was optimistic about this game, but now. Maybe a wait and see. Maybe a wait and see on this one, but last gen versions canceled. We got a first word of our pseudo E3 showcase. Xbox and Bethesda announced their showcase for June 12th, which is the same day that they would have done it had E3 been happening. So kind of proves that the convention itself is super unnecessary. They're still picking the same day. It's still their games showcase. And guys, this has got to be the big Starfield show. We still know very little about this.
It has to be. It's coming out this year. It's coming out this fall.
Yeah.
Wait, what was their date? November 10?
November 11th.
November 11.
Yeah. So it has to be the big Starfield show, similar to Fallout 4. We didn't really see much of that until the E3 before it came out, and then it did come out that fall. But other expectations, probably Redfall, which is still supposed to come out this year, the multiplayer game from Arcane. But anything else that you guys are hoping to see from this showcase that's about a month away?
So much Fable. Please just give it to me. That's all I want. I want Fable and Redfall. I don't even care about Starfield.
New Viva Pinata. That's not happening. Because Rare's working on their other thing.
Yeah.
We're probably not going to see that. Might not be a bad idea to give an update on what's going on with Halo.
Dude, season 2, I'm not even playing anymore. I just saw a headline that said season 2, 343 apologizes for season 2's rocky launch.
Oh no.
Oh no. Yeah, it's in a sad state. They're apparently rapidly trying to fix whatever has gone wrong. I'm so disinterested. I'm not even following that anymore. But I want to see more of Avowed, the kind of fantasy RPG from Obsidian, makers of the Outer Worlds. I think that game looked really cool in its original reveal, and could be something I'm interested in. And probably about time to see that, because they already announced Outer Worlds 2, which isn't going to come until after this game. So I think they don't want it to line up with Starfield, but I could see Avowed being maybe a next spring type thing. So I want to see more of that game, because that game looked really, really cool. And I liked what I played of Outer Worlds. I didn't finish it, but I think a game like that set in a fantasy setting could be really cool. But I'm just excited
I
to
will
see
say
that
one
this
more
is
thing.
happening.
What I do want to see is gameplay, because of all the praise you give Microsoft sometimes with the stuff that they show off, the dearth of gameplay at some of these showcases can be pretty ridiculous. And now a lot of these have already been announced. We know them. So I am very much hoping that whatever they end up showing, they give a lot of gameplay time to, rather than these cinematic trailers.
You guys
bring
remember that one
gameplay to the
trailer?
show.
Remember that one trailer of like this just like random rock song playing in a
Garage?
And just
Yeah.
like showed the
Yeah, I do
title and
remember
that was
that
the
trailer.
end.
What was that? Something runners? I don't know.
It was a new IP. It was like, what am I supposed to take from this? What is that supposed to do for me? Yeah, I want to see gameplay also. I feel like the last couple of years, since they've been trying to get back into the game with this next gen, they have been like showing us their hand a lot with things that are very far away. And I don't want it to get into this kind of PlayStation territory where, for years it was just, okay, Spider-Man, Ghost, Death Stranding, Last of Us, every event, every year, 4 years in a row, because I don't want it to be like that with some of these games. Because also, like, Hellblade 2 is a game I feel like we've seen like 3 times and is like still not out. And I've seen what that game is, and it's just time probably to get it out and stop showing us so many trailers. Maybe the Indiana Jones game too. That was announced with like a very brief teaser.
It's hard to remember a lot of these things when it is just a title, or especially if it's not from a well-established game IP, like like Bethesda's big new game with like Starfield or whatever. It's hard to keep track of all these games when all you have is a title and a frog eating a fairy.
Yep. I've seen that frog eat that fairy like 100 times.
June 12th is a Sunday. That is the day Xbox usually goes in June at 10 a.m. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to hopefully some other showcases getting announced here in the coming weeks as well. Oh, Rip E3, rest in peace. I don't think you're ever coming back. I don't.
Yeah, if this summer goes off without a hitch and all of these big developers have all of their showcases or whatever, and it all runs smoothly, I don't see how they come back.
And it will likely feel normal to most fans because it'll feel like it did last year.
Right. You don't have to go in person. It's all streaming on Twitch or YouTube or wherever you watch that stuff. It's probably going to be the exact same user experience for 98% of people.
And I bet people will still colloquially refer to it as E3. They'll just be like, all right, E3 time. And E3 just hasn't been a thing in like a decade at that point. Yeah.
I mean, you just call it like the summer showcases or something if they're all grouped together in like a week's time.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, this year does feel like the first test because they had the kind of digital thing last year that none of us logged into. I don't know a lot of people that did. And then 2020, no one really did a showcase, not because of E3, but because no one knew the state of their games. So this feels like the first time there hasn't been an E3 where we'll see if people really notice that it's even gone. Because I'm going to bet no. I bet my money on people don't.
I mean, and if everyone's still calling it E3, I'm sure that like the casual person probably won't even realize. It's like, oh, I watch all these streams on Twitch. They're calling it E3. Okay. Same as always.
Yep. And then a weird Xbox issue over the weekend. Online DRM caused players to not be able to access their games because the servers were experiencing some outages on and off since last Friday. And because of digital ownership, even if you had bought the game, you were still not allowed to launch or start cloud gaming sessions.
From what I heard, it wasn't even digital only. Physical games had this issue too.
Oh yeah, because the physical games on Xbox are basically digital,
which is really sad. I guess it makes it easier to get the digital only console.
It made it very easy to do that.
But in another way, that's still incredibly gross.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't play my Xbox this weekend. I did not experience this, but this is one of the worries that we always talk about with digital only and digital rights management, is that it's up to them when you're allowed to play these things that you pay full price for, as if it's retail.
Yeah. And, with an outage like this, it's a weekend or, it's like 5 days. But you just think about what happens with end of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they
Yeah.
don't have a plan for end of life, what happens? They can just as easily pull the plug and be like, all right, Xbox has been good about bringing stuff to the next generation, at least right now. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to do that forever. If they get really successful with their new games, maybe they don't see it as big of a deal and maybe kind of like, pull back a little bit from that. But I think that's always the issue when you see something like this, is not the now, but when it comes to end of life, because we've seen that
Mhm.
companies don't really care all that much. And when you get to a point where even your digital games or physical games can't be played without servers that are online, that's when it becomes a big issue. At the very least, like with 3DS, that, another PSA, the credit cards are going to be going off here pretty soon. So pick up some more of those.
Like 2
Your
weeks.
digital only games will still be able to be played. But with these newer consoles, who knows what it'll be like in 10 or 15 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, hopefully it doesn't get worse. I feel like we're kind of reaching the breaking point. I don't know. Cloud gaming's becoming bigger and bigger, which could make all this stuff worse, but I hope not. All right, that's Xbox. Let's get into some Nintendo stuff. Their quarterly earnings report came out, and we once again have sales numbers. Same old story. It's selling like crazy. Actually, the big headline for this one is that the Nintendo sold more games last year than ever before in any other year. It was their best software year ever in company history. Switch sales were down a little bit, but software sales were way up. Fun fact I saw on Twitter is that there are now more Switches than pieces of Wii U software.
I saw that, yeah.
Oh man, that's crazy. That's pretty insane. But we got some numbers for some new games. Most notably, Pokemon Legends Arceus sold 12.6 million copies in 2 months. What?
Very impressive, especially
that's
when it's
an
only
insane
one
amount.
game.
Yep. Yeah,
two
only
versions.
one game. Maybe on the shelf doesn't really look like a mainline title to the casual consumer, but word of mouth got out. The marketing was good, and 12.6 million for Pokemon Legends. And this isn't the only Pokemon game coming out this year. You're gonna have another 10 plus million seller with Scarlet and Violet at the end of this year. And you look at the top 10, and Legends is probably going to bump Ring Fit Adventure out. And then you're going to have Let's Go, Diamond and Pearl, and Sword and Shield. And assuredly, Scarlet and Violet are going to make it into the top 10. So half of your top 10 is going to be Pokemon titles, which is crazy. Like even the DS, where it felt like Pokemon was at its peak, wasn't that big. It wasn't as huge as it has become on Switch, which, man, it's just crazy to me. I guess it's because people like us never stop buying them, and then there's new kids every year that start buying them.
Yeah.
So the Pokemon bubble is just going to grow and grow forever.
I think the most impressive thing here is that Ring Fit has sold as much as it has. That's
Top
crazy.
10. Yeah.
Yeah. When that was
Yeah.
announced, it looked cool. I'm still interested in picking it up at some point, but you wonder with a peripheral like that, and with, what was it, an $80 shelf
Yeah,
price
$80.
tag?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You just wonder how well that would sell. But 14 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
14 million is wild, even if it does get bumped off when the inevitable onslaught of Pokemon games continue. Like,
Yeah.
that's still crazy.
Yeah. And then a new Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe has sold 13.3 million copies, and we haven't seen a 2D Mario since then. Since Mario Maker in June of 2019, there's been no new 2D Mario games. And it's like, there's got to be something in the works for that series. It's such a big seller, and it's such a core part of Nintendo. I just think it's crazy that we have not gotten word of a 2D Mario game. Maybe this year we'll hear something about 2D Mario.
Maybe they're just pulling the same thing that they're pulling with Mario Kart, where they're just like, well, it's selling well enough, and once the next console comes around, we can focus on it then.
Yeah. And Mario Maker, they did not sell super well, and they really abandoned quickly support for that game. So I think that series is probably dead, which is a shame, because I think it's incredible. I never got into 2 as much as 1, though. Like, Mario Maker 1 was still the peak of that series, but I think it's probably done. after 2, which is a shame because it's so much more interesting than anything the new Super Mario Bros. Games have done in 5 entries. So, yeah, that's a disappointment. But I want to see where 2D Mario goes from here. I think that should be an O2 or something at some point. Because if it's just new Super Mario Bros. Again, to me, that's a problem. That is a problem.
Well,
If they just roll that out for the
maybe
6th time in a row.
maybe the next one in the series could have maybe a slightly watered down version of a level maker, and they could just integrate that into the standard new Super Mario Bros. 2D platforming series.
Yeah.
Or they could do themes even. Like if they
Yeah.
don't do like any form of level editor, at least giving people the themes would be a very interesting. If you could somehow design the levels around that where they all work and it's all feels cohesive enough. Because the issue with the new Super Mario Brothers games is they all feel super bland. But if you have graphics packs for all of these classic games, maybe that smooths it over a little bit, and makes it a little bit less bland when you don't have to play the new Super Mario Bros. Skin on it. But I don't know.
That'd be cool. Or if it was just a game where they're like, World 1 is Super Mario Brothers, World 2 is
Like a
Super
history,
Mario World.
yeah.
Yeah, that could be something neat too. But yeah, we'll see. That feels like an anniversary type project, which is come and gone. So it's gonna be like 4 years till the next Mario anniversary. So
and then we can get it for 1 year and then no more. Can't buy
it. Super Mario 3D World Deluxe is at 9.4 million. Excited to see that. Outstanding game that's going to cross 10 million. Luigi's Mansion 3 has always surprised me at 11.4 million. Like I look at that game and I don't see a 10 million seller. I'm thrilled that it has.
It's a great game.
But yeah, and then Splatoon 2 is at 13.3, Skyward Sword HD 3.9, and then the one I want to talk about for a second here, Metroid Dread 2.9 million. It is now the best-selling Metroid game ever, but I sense some disappointment within the Nintendo community that it was not a bigger hit than this. When you look at the numbers side by side to everything else on Switch, how it sells, and then the Metroid Dread in what has it been, 7 months, has still not crossed the 3 million mark. So I don't know. To me, I see best-selling Metroid ever for a 2D game, and I'm like, Metroid Prime 4 could be really big. I think 2.9 million is enough, probably, to warrant another 2D Metroid game. But it does feel a little low, so I want to get your guys' take on that.
Yeah, I think it's enough for what it is. I wouldn't call that like a major disappointment or flop or anything. But you do look at these lists of games, and the Switch is very well known for having high attach rates where people go out and buy a bunch of games for it. Maybe it's just that Dread isn't as approachable. You look at the list of these games and, you've got a lot of Pokemon games on there, Mario games and Breath of the Wild and stuff like that. And I feel like Metroid Dread maybe is not as approachable to a more casual fan as some of these other titles are. I don't know, though. I feel like at the very least, those sales will warrant another one. But I guess the concern is that you have another situation like Metroid Prime, where that thing comes out and sells well enough. But then you get the sequel and not as many people pick it up as did the first one. And then it kind of goes from there. I feel like people were probably hoping for more so that it could ride out a little bit longer, because generally I feel like sequels don't perform as well sales wise most of the time.
Yeah, and you pushed, Nintendo did everything they could. They pushed it as hard as they possibly could. It was the big fall game last year. They launched it on the same day as their new console. They had Amiibo. It was a centerpiece in the big E3 Direct.
The game was great.
The marketing cycle was huge. Yeah, the game was phenomenal. But I think it is just a big combination of things like you're saying, Kev. I think if a parent is in a store buying a game for their kid and they see a pretty serious looking game called Metroid Dread, they're maybe not drawn to that one as much as they're drawn to like Mario, Luigi, Pokemon, the safe Nintendo things that you know about. Because let's be real, a lot of casual fans probably don't know what Metroid is. Like, they know who Samus is, maybe from Smash Bros. I don't know if they necessarily correlate that if they see Metroid Dread on the shelf. And then I think what did hurt it was not having an easy mode at launch. It got an easy mode later, but I think that a lot of people probably didn't pick it up because they heard how hard it was. And then it didn't have an easy mode until like 4 months later. And then by that point, kind of the hype cycle was over. So maybe that's something they learned from for the next one. But also 2D games just don't sell as well as 3D games do. So I have hope that maybe Metroid Prime Remake and Prime 4 can be the big moment that this series has been desperately needs and has been waiting for. But I hope it's not the end of 2D Metroid, because Dread was outstanding, and I really want to see Mercury Steam make more of these things. I think 3 million's enough. I do for
too.
what the budget of this thing probably was and how well it was critically received. I think it's probably enough to give it another shot in a couple of years.
The question is then what happens there? You
Yeah.
know, if that doesn't reach the 3 million that Dread reached, at that point, does that mean that, you know, we're killing it off for a while? I feel like there might be a lot riding on that next one.
Yeah. I love Dread, though. So I know a lot of people who bought 2 copies to try and bump the sales numbers up.
Dang.
I feel bad because I bought
to have
0
a wallet
copies.
that fat to do that.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do that.
Yep. Yeah, same. Okay, so that is a Nintendo Switch sales report. Things are going well. Hopefully Metroid gets another chance. Monster Hunter Rise got another digital event. They showed off 3 new monsters coming to the game for Sunbreak. 2 of them are alternate forms of monsters from the base Rise game. And then one of them is the flagship monster from Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. Its name is eluding me at the moment.
I forgot it immediately is the problem.
And then
I never went back to look at it.
They also announced a new Pro Controller, which is coming. The original game also got a Pro Controller. There's like 6 Switch Pro Controllers, and 2 of them are now Monster Hunter Rise. And this game's getting 3 new amiibo.
Xenoblade.
It's like, yeah,
Zelda.
And Smash. And that's
Smash.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, there wasn't a Skyward Sword one? Oh, those were Joy-Cons.
Yeah,
There's
Joy-Cons,
Joy-Cons,
yeah, but the Pro Controller is pretty cool. Has the Malzeno vampire monster on it. But thing I want to talk about with Zach here is that they announced this new mode where you can go on missions with characters from the town. So you can take these characters from the hub world, from the story that in World and Rise to this point basically just serve in cutscenes, and that's it, and actually go out and hunt alongside them as NPCs. But then they said that this mode is single player only.
Yep.
And it's with story characters, but it's
Some
unclear if it's part of the story.
So is it going to lock you out of content again? Is that the question?
That's the concern. We've been waiting for them to announce something along the lines of you'll be able to play with your friends through the story quests and not just the hub quests. But it's not looking that way to me. So I'm a little concerned. But they still haven't given us a definitive answer as of yet.
That thing's out. When is that out?
June 30th.
June.
Yep.
so a month and a half away, basically.
There's 3 big questions I still had about Sunbreak, and I still feel like they've yet to be answered. I've wondered, is the difficulty going to be there? Like, is there going to be more content that's actually hard that we need to work towards accomplishing?
I think so.
Is the main quest going to be hub quests or village quests, single player or multiplayer? Please be hub quests. Gosh, if I have to play that thing alone, that would be really disappointing. And is the Rampage coming back? Because the Rampage is a horrible gameplay mechanic from base Rise that we hated, and it made us do way too much. And we haven't seen any footage of that. So right now I'm inclined to say it's not coming back, but I could see them shoehorning that in and making us do that again. But they've had like 4 digital events for Sunbreak and not told me any of these 3 things.
I know they're pretty important things too. So hopefully it all shakes out. I think the difficulty is going to be there. I don't think we're going to be able to play story quests together. So that's about where I'm at right now.
Have they said if this is like the last showcase before they launch it, or are they going to be doing another?
They said we have more to announce soon. So I think there's going to be
soon's got to be really soon, because soon is when the game comes out.
Yeah. All right. But new Pro Controller looks cool. Ooh. I just wish that they were different colors. They're always gray.
Yeah.
They're always the same gray, and then just have like an overlay. And I don't know why they're doing that. Sometimes the handles are a different color, but
Splatoon had like the paint on them, and Xenoblades was the handles were completely
different. They were like red, yeah. And the Smash handles are white, but the actual base of the controller itself is always the same color with just some decal. So that's interesting. But very excited for Monster Hunter to get back into it. Should be a good time. Next month, my most anticipated game of the year after the Zelda delay, Mario Strikers Battle League got a new trailer. So it got a Japanese gameplay trailer, but then they also released the intro video. So there's been a couple of things swirling around. The gameplay trailer I think it looks really good. I think that this game looks great. They are doing kind of the approach we've talked about before, where it looks like they're only launching with 10 characters, and then there's going to be more through free updates or unlocking through tournaments, which I'm very mixed about. But from a pure gameplay stance, Kev, I think that this game looks great. I think it looks like it runs at a smooth 60 frames. It looks gorgeous, like you can tell. Next Level Games is working on this because it looks really similar to Luigi's Mansion in a lot of ways. So yeah, I'm super excited about this. The more we see.
Yeah, purely based on gameplay, I think it looks great. They showed off the main thing that they were showing off here was just the online play and like the leagues that you can do. But from what they showed off with the gameplay, a lot of it is returning stuff with body checks and putting them into walls and stuff for the electrocution. But there was the thing that they showed off that was new, where you can body check a teammate who can go in and hit them from a distance, which was cool. They also showed off a lot more of the character customization, where you can customize what your character wears, and that'll change their stats. And they showed off how that there is a tangible difference there with your power levels, in terms of how far you can body check somebody or your power when shooting. So that should be fun to kind of mix and match not only characters but stats as well. So that was cool. For me, I guess it's just that they've really focused on the online modes, which is great. They look fun, but that's really kind of all they've focused on.
Yeah.
Beyond just showing off gameplay, which could be in single player or in multiplayer. And I just wonder if that's going to be it. I mean, Strikers games have never been it's never like a super in-depth story mode or anything, but they always have the season mode, basically, where you're going through this tournament. Yeah, you do the cups and you'd unlock characters, and we haven't seen any of that. So I guess I'm left wondering what is in there besides just single matches, local, online, and then the online tournaments that they have in the online leagues. Like, what else is there gonna be? Because they've also shown off the character roster, and it is small. The roster that we saw when the game was announced is seemingly what it's going to launch with, unless they pull some sort of surprise and they haven't shown off unlockable characters. But part of me thinks that at launch, this is what you're going to get. And
I think so.
You would hope that they're going to have more characters like they did with some of their previous Mario Sports games. But yeah, I just wonder what the state of the game is going to be at launch, because in terms of different modes, they really haven't shown off very much.
And Daisy's not there. Daisy's not in the roster. Like, she seems like a pretty quintessential Strikers character to me. Like, when you think of Daisy's like really like rude attitude, like you think of Strikers and her kicking Luigi into an electric fence. And it's like, where is she? She's just not in there. You got Rosalina, who has apparently replaced Daisy as the number 2 Mushroom Kingdom princess over the last few years. But yeah, I think like her not being there alone tells me there's got to be more characters in post-launch support. There's no way that they're going to leave out Daisy, and like Toad's in there. You got Toad. Yeah, the roster's fine other than that, though. But it is just small. But I guess the Strikers roster has always been kind of small, because it was usually just the captains and then the sidekicks. So it was never huge. But I feel like with the customization route they're going for, and maybe it's because they're designing individual gear for all these characters, so it takes a lot more than just throwing in a character, like in tennis where they had one outfit. Because like I saw some pictures of DK, he had like 4 totally different outfits. One, he looked like he was from Tron. He looked super cool. Like it's the most personality we've seen in a Mario game in over a decade, like easily, I think. So I'm super excited for it, but I do wish there were more characters, and I also worry, like Aces, that game became practically unplayable after the online community left it, because there's nothing to do that's worth your time and not online. And I'm worried that Strikers could turn out that way too, when I could still boot up the GameCube one and have a great time just messing around in the different modes and menus for an hour. I just hope that it's like that here too, especially coming off of Switch Sports, where I'm like, there's nothing to do if you're not online. Nothing. So we'll see. That is also my only concern.
Bring back the cyborgs. from the first game, such a weird thing in that first one. The super team, who are not as good because their super move is so much harder to pull off than base characters.
It's just weird that everyone can do it is the difference, right?
Yeah. So it's like, is it really better? I don't know. Bring them back. That'd be cool. Also, I will say that the intro, I'm not a big fan of it.
I actually didn't watch it yet.
It's weird. So you look back at Charge. Charge's intro is so good, and there's just so much energy, and I don't see that here. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. Just like character movements are fluid to the point of you can watch the characters like deliberately doing things, and it's kind of weird.
What?
I don't know. Like it.
You can see characters doing things.
I don't. You
I'll
have
have to watch it. I'll have to watch it after this.
I don't know what it is, but the characters, they move too smoothly. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but there was something about that older style that, I don't know, had more character to it. And there was more going on. There was a lot more going on in that original trailer. And it feels like they took a couple of things and then just put it in here, and the music's not as hype. So you have to watch it for yourself. It's just kind of, I don't know. You put it up against the first two, and something about it's just a little weird.
You've heard it here. Frame rates have gotten too good. The characters
they have. Sometimes
smooth.
It's not, for gameplay, give me the 60 FPS, but sometimes the lower frame rate kind of works better for things.
Because like when you watch a movie, it's not at 60. What movies are at like 24 frames a second?
Yeah.
So I guess when you watch a cutscene like that, a hype intro video, you're expecting maybe that. So I get what you're saying. I think I get what you're saying, but I want to watch it.
You'll have to watch it. Yeah, we can talk about it a bit next week. Maybe mention it, see what you think.
All right, rumor roundup. We've got a good one.
Oh boy.
We've got two pieces this week. Should I just do one? Should I save one for next week?
We can get a stale one next week.
Okay. All right. We'll do a stale rumor next week. This one's stale because it came out during our week off.
Gotta love constantly stale rumors.
This is pretty good. Sega to share Sonic Frontiers news update soon. So we don't know very much about this game yet, but in the official Sonic live stream, Sega of America's social media manager was asked when more will be revealed and said, I see a lot of people asking about Sonic Frontiers. We don't have news on Frontiers today, but don't worry. Soon. It's still set to come out this holiday, so we will have news for you this year. Don't worry.
Yeah.
And then there was also like a shareholders Sega thing where they were talking about Sonic Origins, and then they had like a graphic that was like the future of the Sonic franchise, and it was like Sonic Movie 3, Beyond 2023, Knuckles Show 2023, and then it said Frontiers Holiday 2022. So they are still...
They're confident.
If you tell your investors that still, usually delay news comes out before they tell their investors that something's delayed. So to me, I think it's hitting. I've been saying all year,
for
I think
better
it's
or for
delayed,
worse.
but I now think it's hitting this year.
Which means that they got to start showing stuff off soon.
Yes.
Oh my God.
We got to see something this summer. There has to be something.
Yeah.
If we don't see anything this summer, this game is not coming out. Either it's not coming out, or it's gonna be a mess when it does, guaranteed.
Yeah, I've been getting really, really into the Sonic comics over the last 2 weeks or so, because I'm writing a story for work kind of about them, and that just motivated me to go back and read all my old ones. But now I'm finally reading the new series, which I never read. I read the first 4 issues, didn't think it was super good, and then abandoned it. But I'm now 14 issues in, and it's really good. And it's penned by Ian Flynn, who's writing Sonic Frontiers, which is super exciting. And Dead Amy. But yeah, the current Sonic comic series picks up right after the end of Forces. And so it actually makes the Forces story better. And a lot of the things it kind of like retroactively inserts into the mix and is like, so I'm holding up a cover on camera of Metal Sonic, which is a pretty cool cover. But Sonic is talking to Metal Sonic, and he's like off working on some other evil plan that's now taking fruition in the comics. And Sonic goes, "Oh, so that's why I only fought your Mirage during the war instead of actually you, because you fight all the non-actual villains." And so just like little things like that make Forces feel slightly better in retrospect. So man, I have total faith in Ian Flynn to write this game, because the comics it's still the best iteration of Sonic's universe. And when I look at how bad the games are, and I'm like, man, why do I like Sonic so much? I was kind of reminded this last week. It's because I read the comics for like a decade growing up, and getting back into them has been super fun. And yeah, I'm excited to see where the Frontier story goes, because if it's truly being written by him, I think it's going to be really good.
Here's open this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
This
This
year.
year.
This year.
Yeah.
Oh my
Uh-huh.
God.
And that is it for a rumor roundup, and that is it for the news.
All
No sports
right.
story. Indie World
No-
came and went.
No
sports story.
sports story.
No sports
That
story.
game is
My God.
mega MIA. My God.
It was
It's
announced
all right.
2.5 years ago.
And we got Baby Court. And then
Baby
nothing.
Court.
This is where your journey starts.
Baby Court and work is ongoing.
You know what would be
Yes.
worse than rumor roundup for Frontiers? Sports story rumor roundup.
Rumor
That'd be
roundup.
nothing.
games.
Just check Sidebar's Twitter.
They
Baby Court.
posted nothing. Baby Court.
The
Here we
rumor
go.
roundup every week is this is where you start your journey. Baby Court. Not even a rumor.
All right.
Guaranteed.
Well, that's going to do it for this week's news and this week's rumor roundup. We don't got a lot of time left, but we have been playing some stuff over the last couple weeks that we can just absolutely rip through. We've already talked about Nintendo Switch Sports, so we're good on that end. Kevin, what have you been into? I know you recently beat a pretty popular game.
Forbidden West. It's done.
Yes.
I enjoyed
Welcome to
it.
the club.
Woo.
Yeah.
It was fun. I saw what you were talking about with the gameplay thing that they added in at the very end, which is really cool. And I put in about 50 hours before I even got to that, which would have been nice if they could have dropped that in a little bit earlier, because I think it is really cool. It will be fun if I ever go back and do any of the extra stuff there to be able to do that. But for people that don't, it seems kind of sad to drop that in. Just like, here you go. All right, you're done. Because it was in the second to last quest. But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I think the gameplay is still great. I think that's where it excels the most, is just, fighting the giant robots. I think that is where it shines the most in terms of its combat, of just, searching for weak points and using different arrows for different things. And I that's where it's best. I think the story kind of falters a little bit for me. I think that the first game was a little bit more digestible. I think it just had a smaller scope, and I think it also helped that there was a lot more mystery there to unravel to keep you going. But here, I feel like it showed its hand a little bit early. I mean, there was kind of a reveal at the end, but even then, it was a little bit unbelievable for me. Where we're getting to the point now where I'm like, wait, what? Like, what is that?
Yeah.
So I'm
I
curious how that's going to be pulled off in the next game, because it does set up the next game. And, you see all these news articles of like, oh yeah, we're doing a trilogy. So I'm very curious how they're going to pull off what they put in at the end of Forbidden West, because I was just sitting there scratching my head. It's like, what is this thing? Like,
kind of an insane amount of jargon, science fiction, mumbo jumbo gets dumped on you in the second half of that game. And I did not like it. I did not like the story.
Yeah, I think the first one it just had a smaller scope. It was just like, oh, world died, and you had it was just a lot more grounded in a slightly futuristic reality, whereas here, it's just so far forward that it's like, whoa, like what is happening here? At the very least, I'm curious what it all turns into in the next game. But I don't know if that curiosity is like, wow, I really want to play that, or just like, man, what are they gonna do? What is that gonna turn into?
Yeah.
But I still think the gameplay is strong, and I'd still play another game in this series at the very least for that gameplay and to see where it all wraps up, if it is indeed a trilogy. But I think the story did not hit as well as the first one did for me. But I still enjoyed it. And that was about it.
What's next?
I picked up Monster Hunter Stories 2.
Oh, cool.
I got it for about $30. So maybe that. Yeah, I've been thinking about Kaito. But when Zach was like, oh yeah, you just plow through it, and it's $30-$40. I was like, oh, okay. But I'll probably pick that up. Probably that. Yeah, Stories, Kaito, and then Strikers when it comes out. The more I see it, the more I'm like, yeah, that's probably going to be a very much a side thing if there isn't a lot of single player content for me to do. Yeah, probably those two.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, as for me, speaking of the Kaito Files, I did play it after the last show we did. Took me a few days. I had like 3 sessions of 2 hours long because it was only like a 6-hour story with no side missions whatsoever, which makes it a little hard to recommend paying $30 for 6 hours of new content. I really enjoyed the story and I really like Kaito as a character. So I did enjoy the 6 hours that I played, but 6 hours for $30 when the base game I spent like 20 to 25 hours. I don't know. It just seemed a little hard to swallow. But still good time, even with that lack of content. And I definitely think, Kevin being a super big Yakuza fan, you're probably going to want to play
I'm sure
it.
I'll enjoy it. Yeah,
Because
that's
I
not
really
gonna be a
like the
question
story.
there.
I really liked it. And they give Kaito 2 new fighting styles that we haven't seen before that are similar to some of Kiryu's styles, but still unique to Kaito. So those are fun. And then other than that, switch sports. I played a little bit more of Dual Destinies. Still don't like it. I'm still on case 2. Logan has said that the cases 3 through whatever are better. So once I get through case 2, I've been able to plow through a lot of the series pretty quickly, but now I've kind of been stopped at Dual Destinies, so I got to pick it back up and hopefully plow through it just to get it over with. And then other than that, I platinumed Elden Ring, which I thought was going to be a bigger trial than it actually was. The scaling wasn't as harsh as I thought it was going to be with the new game pluses, so I was able to go in and beat it a few times with not much
from a couple
issue.
of people that the scaling isn't anything too crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty generous with the difficulty spikes on the new game pluses, so it wasn't as hard as I thought, and I think the platinum's gone just over 10%, so I'm not the only one finding it easier. So
man, for how many people are playing this, that's crazy.
I know it's
and
pretty crazy
for a Souls-like game too.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people that probably jump in that have not played these games, and they're hard. That's a pretty impressive percentage.
Yeah,
I guess there's just that many dedicated players.
I know it's pretty crazy to have that dedicated of a fan base for a game like this. So I had a lot of fun though. Still playing it even after platinuming it because I'm just trying out new builds and it feels like an entirely different game. So still a lot of fun. Still
carry me to the end.
I will carry Logan to the end. Yeah, but that's it for me. Yeah.
Logan, what have you been up to?
More Elden Ring. Yeah, I just wanted to say real quick that, man, so many people I know, I was talking to Zach about this, are playing Elden Ring that do not play video games that I know. Like, I have a friend who has an Xbox, and if you look at his game shelf, it is Madden and Call of Duty, and that is it.
Wow, he is that token gamer.
Yeah, and he's playing Elden Ring, and he is totally obsessed with it. And it's like, man, the reach of this game is bigger than I ever would have thought. And I thought it was going to be pretty big. And just, seeing him, like, we were at a Mariners game together. And he's like, oh, man, I'm playing this game right now called Elden Ring. I'm like, what?
Have you heard of it?
Man, that was just crazy. Yeah. But I'm still playing Elden Ring. I mean, I was gone for over a week, so I didn't have any games with me. And then last thing I'll share is I got the Min Min Amiibo.
Oh, so good.
All right.
It is very good. It is a very good one. So it came out same day as Switch Sports. Steve and Alex delayed because of production issues. I mean, it's just such a complicated design. I understand. But yeah, Min Min's a good one. But yeah, that's it for me. Looking to get back into Elden Ring now that I'm back home.
Great. I will carry you to the best of my ability. I think that's it for what we've been playing.
All right. No O2 this week. There was a lot of news to get through since we were off for a little while. And, spending time staring at the screen, waiting for Sports Story to inevitably not show up. Here's hoping that it shows up at whatever Nintendo has this summer. I feel like it's big enough that it warrants some sort of appearance at whatever their showcase is for the summer.
Mm-hmm.
But man,
hopefully.
It's been a while. This
is getting pretty disgusting at this point. Been
yeah,
2.5 years since
without little we hear about it. It's just so funny that they posted like 3 things on Twitter, and it's like, was there a plan for more and you just stopped, or was that it?
Yeah.
I hope we'll see it soon. Any other final thoughts before we wrap up for this week?
Sonic Frontiers. Can't wait.
This year.
What
is that game gonna be?
I know. I'm getting more hyped for it. I'm starting to fall into the old pitfalls. Getting too excited.
Yep.
For the next Sonic game.
I just want to see that first gameplay reveal and be like, what is this? Because we really haven't seen anything. I'm very curious how it's gonna run. Like, just in general, Switch. If it is like, it's on Switch and just open world. What is that going to be like?
Breaking news: Switch, PS4, Xbox One versions of Sonic Frontiers canceled.
We couldn't do it. We got to focus on those next gens. All right, that's going to do it for us on this week's episode of Ode Games. We're here on Thursdays or Fridays, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, odegames.com for the audio version. YouTube at Ode Games has the video version. You can check it out there. We're on Twitter at Ode Games. You can send an email to odegamescast@gmail.com. For Logan and Zach, I'm Kevin. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next week.